What's up, guys? Average Kiwi Guy here. How y'all doing? So I just got back from Black Panther, and I gotta say, I really like this film. I really like this film. I think it's a very good first movie for Black Panther. And I think the best thing about it is that it when you come out of it, it doesn't feel like an origin story. It doesn't feel like an origin story. It feels like it's a continuation on the small story that we saw of Black Panther in Civil War, and they continued it on, and they kind of answer some questions a little bit there. And they go into a little bit of what makes Black Panther, and the sort of the culture of it all and stuff like that. But it was a very good film, right up there on the Marvel scale, with all the other Marvel films. And I feel like a good lead into Infinity War. Didn't spoil anything for Infinity War, really. And I mean, like, the entire film didn't really delve into that in any way. But was still a good lead into, like 2 months away? Maybe a full... When's Avengers? Yeah, about 2 months away from Avengers. So I really liked it. I really liked it. So how the review will go is that I'll do a non-spoiler section at the start. So those of you who haven't seen the movie, don't worry about it. I won't be doing any spoilers for the beginning. Just some general stuff that we know from trailers and news articles and stuff like that has come out, but nothing that is gonna spoil the movie for you, because I don't want to ruin it for you guys. And then we'll move into a non-spoiler section at the end, okay? And a little Kiwi will come up with spoilers on it, so don't worry about it. You'll be perfectly fine, okay? All right. So, how was it? How was Black Panther? Um, I actually really loved it because the style of the film, the art designs, the look of everything, the way Wakanda was, and how, it's everything, like, it's got this futuristic modern tech mixed with traditional African designs in it. Like, I love that whole thing. And then, like, it's like this super, high tech African tribe that still has their rituals, still has these traditional rituals that came across really well. And the best part about it is they had music that portrayed that as well. Like, you had modern music, I think Kendrick Lamar sort of oversaw the music on this. You had, modern stuff layered in, but then on top of it, you had the sort of traditional African, drums, music, it was super catchy. You got into it a lot, and I thoroughly enjoyed the whole, the fusion of modern futuristic with traditional African type things. And I think the best part about it is that for Marvel, this is really the first time we've had a superhero that's been outside of America. I think that's a big thing too. That's a big thing too. Like, I mean, you can't count Thor. You can't count Thor that he was on Asgard. That doesn't count. Like, this was like the first time, a superhero that's on Earth, that's from a different country, and it came off really well. And, like, it made it far more interesting to look at. And, like, it allowed them to go into different things, and it broke away from being superhero stalks the roof at night, preying on, bad guys in alleyways. Like, it wasn't that. It was a king, like King T'Challa, ruling a country, but also being its protector as well. And he's not a superhero that fights crime in his own country. He fights crime to protect his country while ruling it and stuff. So I liked that sort of twist on it, and how, everyone knows that T'Challa is Black Panther in his country. Everyone knows he's Black Panther. Like, and it felt like he wasn't really trying to hide the fact that he was Black Panther. Like, he's in the middle of a really busy street in South Korea, morphing into Black Panther, and he just doesn't really give a shit. And his helmet is constantly coming down while people are around. I'm like, dude, I guess you just don't care that you're this monarch of this country, and you don't care that people know that you're Black Panther? Okay. I guess they're saying like, well, not many people would know who Black Panther is. He's not like Tony Stark, who blatantly comes out and says he's Iron Man. He's a little more secretive. People don't quite know who he is. But I'm just like, you don't really care, people seeing your face and all that. Um, but it was cool to have that twist of, not just a traditional superhero who's just like regular average Joe who has superpowers who goes off and fights bad guys. This was he's a superhero for another reason. He's a guardian, he's a protector, and it's sort of like a power that's bestowed upon the king of the tribe, because the king is meant to be the strongest of the tribe, which was quite cool. And they go into a little bit of the ritual of picking that king. So in Civil War, we saw T'Challa's father die in the UN explosion, and he's meant to inherit becoming the king. He gets that right to become the king, but there's a ritual that allows other parts of the other tribes of Wakanda to put forth a challenger if they wish to go and take the throne. You can do that. There is a challenge. There's a day set that the powers of the Black Panther are taken away, and they can go. And that's the scene that you see with them fighting around the waterfall and stuff. And they have like spears and shields and stuff. Like, that's the type of ritual things that they did in this. And I really liked it. I thought it was a really cool thing there. And that's what I mean by modern and futuristic mixed with that traditional African, rituals and stuff like that. Like, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, they had like chanting and drums going and stuff. You got really into it. It was very, very cool. So then I guess, we'll go into the story. I felt like the story was fairly, I think it was a fairly stock standard story. I don't think it did anything shocking in any way. I felt like it was a little like I wasn't surprised by anything. I think from what I'd seen in the trailers, I kind of picked up what was going to come along and what was going to happen. It followed a lot of like the traditional superhero sort of storytelling stereotypes, I guess. I think the added part of Wakanda and its the roles that everyone plays and the vibranium and stuff like that, that was the interesting part, along with T'Challa and Black Panther and all that. But the storytelling itself was fairly standard. I think it's a very standard thing. It's not a mind-bending, mind-blowing sort of thing. The thing is that they do use the story and they do use the motives of bad guys and things like that to tackle some social problems that happen all around the world. Some things that are very big at the moment. And I felt like they did it well. It wasn't like they were pushing it in your face the entire time. But when they did go at those problems, when they did state those problems, racial inequality and things like that, I felt like they did it right, and I felt like they did it in a dignified way. It wasn't like they were yelling at you about it. It fit into the story and also gave across its message. So I think they did fine by that. So yeah, story, I don't think was the strongest part of the film. I don't think it was the strongest part. It was good. It was good. It had a lot of cool parts about it, and the stuff about Wakanda and all that was very cool. And you just kind of delve into some secrets of the royal family and things like that. But was not, I felt like, the greatest story of all the Marvel films. It wasn't a mind-blowing story. But I always feel like a lot of Marvel films don't really have those mind-blowing stories. They follow very traditional storytelling sort of plots. They don't delve out of the way, but the writing and the way they tell the story and the way they show the story is a sort of makes up for the actual plot itself. I felt like it sort of takes that sort of average sort of plot and makes it better. And this movie did that too. This movie did that as well. Especially it being the first Black Panther film, like solo Black Panther film, and for it to not come across as an origins film was a big plus for this film, because we don't need another origin film. We don't need another origins film. I don't think, we've seen, we saw Black Panther in Civil War. It's a bit like Spider-Man, right? We didn't need another Spider-Man origin story. And they did right by us and didn't give us one. They just sort of kind of made it like their sort of first solo adventure for him. Where this one was like the first solo adventure for the new king of Wakanda. And him dealing with that stuff. But he was far more mature, and it felt like he had been trained, and he was building up to becoming this king, so he didn't feel like he was so out of his depth. Where Spider-Man, the new Spider-Man, was the young kid. He sort of just got thrusted into this. He's still learning. So there are two different sides there. So for Black Panther to come across as not an origin story too, very, very good. Because I think for Marvel films, we're probably past the origin stories. Maybe for Captain Marvel, I think Captain Marvel could do with an origin story because she's not so well known. And I'd like to sort of see that origin story there. But on the grand scheme of things, they have so many characters in Marvel now. You can't give everyone origin stories. You can't. Like, you've given the main group theirs. These new ones, these sort of the next generation of Marvel, I think that they're perfectly fine coming in and sort of having their first adventures solo without it being an origin. So that was a good thing. So acting-wise, Chadwick Boseman nails it. He's a perfect T'Challa. He's sort of got just the accent, everything. He nails it right across the bat. I think he was a very, very cool Black Panther. He's sort of got that stature about him. I really like him. I think he's a really, really good actor. Him and Tom Holland stole the show in Civil War, I felt. He held it up at this point, too. He absolutely held it up. Like, I'm looking forward to him being in Avengers and things like that, and him sort of integrating himself into that sort of main group of the Avengers. I think that would be a nice addition there. Yeah, right across the bat, I thought he's really, really good. Kind of has a, you start he's got some, romantic scene. He's got some love interests there. He's got some nice family moments. He's got his little sister that he's pretty close with. Like, honestly, I think Black Panther is probably one of the coolest Marvel superheroes at the moment. Just and the way he's sort of portrayed and all the rest of it. I love Black Panther. I think he's really, really cool. So, Chadwick did an amazing job. I think he's fantastic as T'Challa. Then we get into Michael B. Jordan, Killmonger, who has an interesting backstory that's played pretty much throughout the entire film, and it kind of develops as the film goes on. He definitely was a cool bad guy. I question a little bit of how he develops as the bad guy through the film, because he kind of is like a bit of like a sidekick bad guy through the start of the film, and then sort of becomes the main bad guy in the end. It all happens very quickly for him. It all happens very quickly. He's suddenly like, boom, he's the big villain. Everything kicks off, and then that's it. And then it's boom, straight into the climax of the film, big ending fight. That was it. And it was, I didn't feel like he was able to develop as a villain all that well. He was a cool villain. I liked him, but the development for him was not there all that much. Because the start of the film's villain is about Ulysses Klaue, which is Andy Serkis. We saw him in Age of Ultron. It was because he was the kind of the main villain at the start, and he was like a sub villain to him, and then he suddenly was elevated to the main villain at the end. It was just a little bit of a knock against the film. Like, again, I don't think Marvel kind of nailed the bad guy. I liked him. I thought, Michael B. Jordan came across really, really well. I think, his style, and like they have he has these marks all on him and his backstory and all the rest of it makes him very compelling, very very compelling. And the ending of the film with him is very very cool, and he's used as a way of sort of getting the movie's message across. But I felt like he was kind of rushed to the front. He was rushed up to be the big bad guy, and he was kind of put right at the top very quickly without much of a progress, much of a plan. Though he did have a plan, it was just never really shown. So yeah, it was a little bit of a shame in that, but I liked him. I did like him. I just don't think they've solved the Marvel bad guy problem with Killmonger. I don't think that quite solved the problem. Hopefully, and I mean, if they get Thanos wrong, this would be a major knock against Marvel. You're basically getting the biggest bad guy of them all in Marvel. You better get him right. You better get Thanos right, and I think they will. I think Thanos is just that all-powerful being. I think they'll be fine with him. But Killmonger, very cool. I like the character. I just felt like the development of him was a little rushed to get him to a point where he becomes that rival to Black Panther. And they kind of give it to him very quickly. I guess then we get into kind of the entourage around T'Challa, around Black Panther. Nakia, who was kind of the love interest for T'Challa, played by Lupita Nyong'o. I'm sorry if that's wrong. I'm trying to get the pronunciation right. She actually is the voice of Maz Kanata, and they do the facial thing off it from Star Wars. So that's very cool. She was a cool character. She's sort of like this, she's she's stubborn. She kind of, they flirt between each other, T'Challa and her. She's sort of like his ex. And she's a bit of a spy in a way. She's kind of like, a little bit like, Black Widow in a way. She was cool. She was very cool. She's part of these spies that go out for Wakanda and sort of help in small ways and kind of observe the world. I think they call them war dogs, and they have these tattoos along here that shine. I think they're like embedded with vibranium, and it actually shines. So that tells you like how the if they're actually Wakandan. And it was very cool. I liked her as very much. And she sort of had these like circle disc blades and stuff. Very very cool. I liked her a lot. She was a nice sort of love interest, sort of companion with T'Challa. She sort of she's the one who wants to go out and help the world. Like Wakanda should not be keeping itself so secret. She wants to go out and help the world. And she's sort of like, I don't want to stay in Wakanda, and I don't want to I like you, T'Challa, but I'm not going to stay here and be your queen and do nothing. I want to go out there and help. She's that type of character. So I liked her. Okoye, Danye Ogoria, I think his name is. She is one of the guards, one of the female guards, royal guards for T'Challa. She's the big main one. She was in Civil War, the one that kind of faced down against Black Widow. She's so cool. She's very cool. She's a very loyal royal guard, and she's sort of kind of playful with T'Challa. I like her. I like her a lot. She's got that sort of look on her face, like that really stern look, like you wouldn't want to piss her off, and you wouldn't, because she like whips these spears around and stuff. It is super cool how they just like the fight scenes with her, and it's very very awesome to see her there. Like the royal guards are very cool. Agent Ross, he was the kind of the lead agent, CIA agent on the Bucky with Civil War. The main agent that was hunting down Bucky and all that. He makes a reappearance. Martin Freeman, the Hobbit, and all the rest of it. If you don't know, he was a nice addition. He's kind of like, I feel like he's kind of becoming the Agent Coulson of this next group of Avengers. Like you had Agent Coulson at the start, and then he kind of died but didn't die because now he's in Agents of Shield. Now you have Agent Ross. It's sort of that's kind of what's happening there. It's kind of and in the end he plays some funny roles and he kind of like there and he sees like what Wakanda has and he's like, whoa, okay. It was sort of a nice sort of to bring in someone from the outside, and sort of see like the grandness of Wakanda. It was cool. Then you got Shuri, which was T'Challa's sister, uh, played by Letitia Wright. She's essentially like the Tony Stark of Wakanda. She is super smart. She develops all the tech that pretty much Wakanda uses. She's like developing it. She sort of is taking on that lead role. She develops the suits. She develops all the tech that he has, and the tech is very evident in this film. She does a really good job at that. I thought she was really cool, and she's kind of that cool younger sister. And she's like, she hates all the traditional stuff. She's like complaining that she has to wear certain things. She likes music and all that. She sort of wants to move into the modern era a little more. Kind of typical millennial type character, but she was still cool. Then you had Forrest Whitaker, and his very typical Forrest Whitaker sort of acting, very dramatic, very, basically like Rogue One with Saw Gerrera. He sort of just goes off on his own on a lot of this stuff. And I love Forrest. I think he does a really cool job. And he just, when he gets into a character, he gets into a character. And I thought, his character, Zuri, who was kind of like the spiritual advisor, he ran the rituals, he would, help. So when they do a ritual, they have to strip away the Black Panther power. So he would then give it back to him. Like, he kind of runs that whole part of the of Wakanda and stuff. So he was quite a cool character too. And then I guess you have Andy Serkis. Andy Serkis, like I said, was kind of the villain at the start of the film. Basically Claw. He was basically what you've seen in the start. He's got a few tricks up his sleeve, as you will see in the film. He is pretty much batshit crazy. He's got some hilarious lines. And that is one thing with this film, is that there is some funny moments all through it. Like most Marvel films, like they like to do a little bit of lightheartedness to it. It's not too over the top in any way. They don't take everything. When the serious moments are there, it's serious. I felt like they balanced it maybe a little bit better than what Thor did. It's not as silly as Thor. But yeah, so Andy Serkis kind of used in that way with Claw. I think he was a nice, good starter villain. But I think he kind of hurt Killmonger in the end a little bit, just because Claw was kind of the big bad at the start, kind of shadowed Killmonger for a bit there until they forced Killmonger up to the top. And it was just, the bad guys were a little bit messy in this film. A little bit messy. But yeah. Also, there is an end of credits cutscene. Do watch it. It kind of leads into the new Avengers film. Kind of shows a character. I won't spoil it, but there is a scene there. So if you are wondering if it's worth staying or not, I think it's worth staying. I think like all Marvel films, you should stay to the end, because they always do something either funny or show something off for the next film. It's worth a watch. But I mean, overall, man, like when you look at the technology stuff with Wakanda, the stuff they do with Vibranium is like the most OP metal ever. It does everything. It powers stuff. It heals stuff. It's the best armor. It creates shields. It creates everything. It's like the life force metal. It does everything. Like, I think it even helps create plants that give like enhanced powers, like strength and jumping and all that. Like it's insane what it does. It's insane what it does. With that stuff, with Wakanda itself, with that mix of future and traditional African, and then that also comes in with the music as well. You get that, the more modern music, and then you mix it in with the drums and the chanting and of the traditional African stuff. It was super cool, super cool. I loved the look and the aesthetic and the sound of this film. It was really good. Um, like I said, with the villains, maybe it's a little messy there. I think Killmonger could have been a lot cooler if he was able to develop a bit sooner in the film than what he was, instead of just sort of forcing him up and there he was and that was it. It all just happens very quickly. And I mean, like, it even like in the movie they kind of state it too, like, wait, we're doing this and he's only been here for like a few hours, like that sort of thing. It was, yeah, it was a little quick. I think the major villain, Killmonger's development. But I mean, overall, like, acting, looks, all the rest of it, this movie freaking aces on all of that. It was very good, very good. Right up there, with the top Marvel films. Like, seriously. Again, Marvel, they love doing these movies that have their own sort of unique flavors and stuff. Like, each one's not quite the same as the other. It's not just a plug and play. Okay, this is Black Panther's movie. Okay, plug and play. Where you go. This is Spider-Man's movie. Plug and play. Iron Man, plug and play. Each one has its own unique style to it, and I like that they do that with Marvel. They did it with this one, and they did it really well. I just think Black Panther's like one of the coolest superheroes out right now. He's so cool. Like, hopefully, his popularity will grow more now. Like, I love to see that. And I think him being a superhero that's not from America is also a big plus on that. Like, I like that about him. And I like that he's not the traditional superhero stalking the rooftops, beating out bad guys. He's literally a country's protector. And he's, fighting these big bad guys to protect his country and to protect the world, because now that Wakanda is sort of reaching out a little bit more, he can do that. So it was good. It was very good. I really liked this film. I thought it was a fantastic watch. And a must-see. I think it's a must-see. I mean, it's Valentine's Day, y'all. It's Valentine's Day. I mean, if you guys, you got a significant other there, you and them, you like the Marvel films, it's there. It's there. It might be a good, dinner movie night sort of thing. I would suggest it. I think it's very good. But yeah, I liked it a lot. All right, guys, we're gonna move into the spoiler section now. So if you have not seen the film and you don't want to be spoiled, I'd suggest you probably turn it off now. Thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate it. Thank you very much. I just don't want to spoil any for you. So spoiler section is incoming. The little Kiwi with the spoiler sign is coming up. So please, if you have not seen this film and you don't want to be spoiled, turn the video off now. Okay? Thank you. So welcome to the spoiler section. This is where we're just going to pick apart some of the scenes, pick apart some of the stuff that, I couldn't really say in the non-spoiler section because I don't want to ruin it for anyone. This is where we're just going to, for those of you who have watched the film or those of you who don't mind being spoiled, this is where this what section is about. So I guess the big thing with this film is Killmonger's background, essentially, his backstory. So it turns out that Killmonger actually is royalty. He is actually royalty of Wakanda. He was the son of the brother of the former king of Wakanda, T'Challa's father. And so T'Challa's uncle, he wanted to go off and see the world, so he went and did one of the spying missions, these watchdog missions, over in America. And he kind of fell in love with this girl, and they had a son. And turns out that he was actually helping Claw steal the vibranium from Wakanda, and T'Challa's father goes there as Black Panther. This is back in the day, so this is when he was younger, and kind of confronts him about it. And Forrest Whitaker's younger self is there as well, Zuri. he was stationed there to watch the uncle. He was there to watch him because he was like the Ta'aka. I'm sorry if I've said that wrong. He said it. He was a little suspicious about him. He was a little bit like he was worried that he was going to get mixed up, kind of get influenced by the by America and stuff like that. And he kind of betrayed him. And basically, what happens is he ends up killing him because the uncle pulls a gun on Zuri, which is Forrest Whitaker's character, and tries to shoot him, but Ta'aka steps in front, grabs the gun, and then pretty much Black Panther claw into the chest, which was pretty badass, but kind of sad at the same time. And it turns out that he actually had a son, and that is Killmonger, and that kind of sets it all in motion and gives that whole credence for him to become the ruler of Wakanda. He has that right to that challenge and all that. So that whole thing, how it developed, like the starting scene, like you sort of see him go there, go to his uncle's place in America, and you sort of see that, and then you see the kids outside when the ship leaves, and you're like, oh, okay, like, I wonder what that is. And that was kind of like the little hidden thing there until that was finally exposed at the end. Well, not near the end, around midway. Mainly when Killmonger became the main bad guy. It was quite cool, and it was quite cool to see how Claw stole the vibranium in the first place. That he had help from one of the Wakandans, and it was actually like the brother of the king, and the whole reason for that is that they wanted to use that vibranium and sort of give the oppressed people of the world ways to, sort of take down the conquerors type thing. So yeah, it was interesting to see that, backstory. Kind of the skeleton in the closet for the royal family of how, T'Challa's father killed his own brother in that way, and that kind of made you look at him like, T'Challa idolized his father. He was like, the best king in the world, best father in the world. Like, he always idolized him. And, he always wondered how he'd become king because of that. But then when he finds out that his father kind of did this, he's not so perfect anymore. And that sort of thing. And how, the former kings and weren't so keen on, allowing Wakanda to be sort of opened up to the world. And that kind of is also a thing that goes on through this movie, is like, Wakanda has all this technology, has all this stuff, all these things to offer the world, but the people that are saying like they're hoarding it. Then a lot of people are saying like they're trying to keep it safe because they don't believe that a lot of people in the world are trustworthy enough to have it. I would probably agree with that. I mean, a lot of those weapons and a lot of those the technology they had probably should not be in the hands of a lot of countries and a lot of people. And those are major countries too. I can see both sides. I could see both sides of it. It was interesting to see that going through. The tech was legit. Like the new powers essentially for the Black Panther suit, how it's like kinetic energy, and the more energy that goes into it, the more the vibranium stores up. The nanites that are on the vibranium store it, and then he can release it as a giant explosion. I felt like that was a little OP in a way, because it's like, alright, so it was okay enough that you were bulletproof because it's vibranium and all the rest of it. So, but now you can use that energy to explode outwards too. That was pretty insane. I love the look of Black Panther, by the way. I love the look of the helmet and stuff. I was a little disappointed they went to the whole, like, it forms up around you. Like, Iron Man's gone that way too. Like, it's not just putting on a helmet. I like just the putting on the helmet. I'm a little more traditional, I guess, in that sense. it looks cool and allows them to, like, instead of having to, Superman mode sort of thing, go into his a phone box and then a phone booth and change. This can just happen. It just changes and like their clothes will get ripped off and you go through the clothes pretty quick depending on how many times you change throughout the day. Um, it was, yeah, I was kind of like, man, and even like T'Challa said, like, he liked the traditional, more practical, like, I just put on a helmet. But his little sister who develops all this stuff was like, nah, go with the newfangled fancy stuff. So that was interesting. Um, and also I liked how they explained his powers a little bit. How he has enhanced strength. How he has like the ability to jump up like 2 flights of stairs without it being anything. How he's able to take these body shots more than anyone else and like heal from things and stuff. They have this special fruit. The special fruit that's only bestowed upon the king. Only bestowed upon the Black Panther. And those powers that are given to him are, it's a rite of passage thing. And it's all from this fruit, which I'm guessing is like flowers that have been like imbued with the power from the vibranium. I don't know. I was like thinking like, man, is this like linked to this? I think it's the Soul Stone is the only Infinity Stone that we haven't seen yet, and we're pretty sure that it's in Wakanda. And I was like, oh, I wonder if it's like the Soul Stone's beneath them and it's like feeding the nutrients or something. Like maybe that's it. Like, I wouldn't be surprised though. I wouldn't be surprised if like the Soul Stone is at the core of this vibranium like mountain, essentially. Like, I wouldn't be surprised that it's that. But I did like how they explained his powers a little bit more and how he has these enhanced strength and stuff like that, and how he's able to sort of go hand to hand with Bucky and hand to hand with Cap and not really flinch too much. Can I just say that there are war rhinos in this movie? War rhinos with armor and everything. And like this tribe that is essentially like the border security, really, who have like these cloaks that have shields in them and stuff, like these like freaking light shields. Like they were energy shields. They were so cool. And it was like they have a horn that summons these war rhinos. I love that, by the way. That final battle with like pretty much like all the tribes coming in at each other and stuff. Well, it was sort of more like one tribe and then the Royal Guard, and then I think it was the Jokin. It's basically the gorilla tribe. They're like up in the mountains, sort of thing. They're like, I think they're kind of like the outcasts. They were like a bit more aggressive tribe. They were like, yeah, you just go up in the mountains. You go up there. We'll stick down here in our beautiful city. You go up in the mountains. Yeah, you're sort of exiled up there. And that kind of like I think that was the more aggressive tribe. And, so as those sort of three fighting, that was really cool. But I will say that I felt like it took away from the final fight between Black Panther and Killmonger. Because those two were just down in the hole, down in the vibranium mines on the tracks with the vibranium sound waves that like nullify vibranium. And it, so the suits would get cancelled out. So people, they weren't protected as much. And I felt like if those two fought upstairs, while all that fighting was going on and they all saw these two fighting and stuff, would have been far better. Would have been far better than them just fighting down in kind of like a CGI, very concentrated area where I think up in the open would have looked far better. I think up in the open was far better. The fighting was, you had freaking war rhinos coming through. You had like ships that looked like mosquitoes and stuff. And they were shooting away. It was a really cool final battle, but I don't think the focus was on the main fight. It was like the focus was on the main fight of the Wakandan people, and then everyone kind of realizes like, what the hell are we doing? We're fighting each other over a guy that's probably not the best for us. So maybe we should just stop fighting now. And that's kind of how it all ends. And kind of like with a very vicious stare from Okoye that stops a war rhino, by the way. I liked that. It was very funny. It was cool. Um, it was yeah. I felt like the final climactic battle for those two was kind of outshined, and it was I think just the location of the fight was wrong. I think the location of the fight was wrong. I think they needed to use the beauty of Wakanda better. And I think also throughout the movie too is that you just didn't get to see Wakanda all that much. Like inside of Wakanda, inside the actual city with freaking, hover trains and shit going around. Like you saw like a couple of street scenes, but that was it. And it was like the street scenes that you see, like with our fighting and all that, that's in South Korea. So it was like you have this really cool place, Wakanda, and you're not really using it. So, I don't know. I think some of the choices of where they were fighting was maybe a little mixed up. Like, I kind of wish that they were fighting in the streets of Wakanda. Like, these two Black Panthers going at it, climbing up buildings, flipping around, doing all this stuff, instead of being in a CGI sort of cave. Which was just, I think it was a bit of a disappointing end to the fight. I think it was a bit of a disappointing sort of end fight. But the ending, sort of him, he got stabbed, and they sort of, he's like, man, my dad kind of wanted to bring me back to Wakanda. He said that, it was the most beautiful place in the world. Me, just this kid from Oakland who had, running around with fairy tales in his head, right? And, T'Challa kind of picks him up, takes him to, so brings him up to the surface, takes him up and lets him watch the sunset. It was a nice ending to it. It was also used as a way to kind of get the message of the movie across as well, right at the end there. It ended the film. It ended the film on a way that sort of, like, Killmonger was not going to be just locked up. He was not going to be that way. He was either like, I'm not going to be healed up and then thrown in a cage. That ain't going to happen. That ain't going to happen. So, it was okay. It was okay. I was just a little disappointed with that final fight. I think, like I said, just the location of it, I think, was the problem. The ritual fight with those two was far better. And the ritual fight on both sides, both versions, with the Jokin fight and then him and Killmonger fight was cool as well. Like, I liked that with the water and the shield and spears and stuff. Like, that was legit. That was cooler than the end fight with the Black Panther suits and stuff. Like, I kind of wish that it was more like that. Less CGI stuff, more just raw fighting on that sense. I think that was just a bit of a weak point there. Trying to think if there's anything else there. I mean, you had like remote control cars essentially. Like the sister can basically drive like in these like nano sand seats that form out of nowhere, and she can drive the car because this like Wi-Fi things on it. I guess I don't know. The technology was off the scale in this film. It was off the scale, and I liked it. I think it wouldn't fit unless it would fit with an Iron Man movie, but it fits with a Black Panther movie because of where he comes from and the technology that Wakanda has, and I can accept that, But I mean, yeah, like most of it was pretty good. I mean, now like Wakanda's kind of opening itself up. It's got outreach centers. It's they kind of showed off right at the end there where they're in Oakland, and he was outside of basically Killmonger's house, where his uncle died, where his father killed his uncle, and he sort of he bought some buildings, and they're going to be outreach centers, and they're going to help sort of underprivileged people and stuff, and they sort of show the kids the ship and stuff, and they're like, hey, it's like a Bugatti spaceship. Like, that sort of thing. And, the kid standing at the end there, like, who are you? And he's, like, who are you? And, like, just kind of looking at him in amazement. I liked it. And then, like, right, like, a sort of chaser, sort of, the one one after the initial credits, right, where they do the fancy credits with all the images and stuff. Like him at the UN saying, "Yeah, Wakanda's gonna step out. We're gonna do technology sharing. We're gonna like do aid work and things like that." And like I think one of the big countries was like, with all due respect, like what does like this third world, African country, what can you give to the world? Like what do you offer, sort of thing. Kind of being really smug, and then everyone kind of looks at each other like, let me tell you right now. And you could just imagine like this, like he would just be like, oh, okay, so you have all that. Oh, so that was all right. And then the right at the end, the end of credits scene, essentially showing that Bucky is awake. Bucky is awake. He's sort of like off in this sort of small little camp by a lake and stuff. He doesn't have his arm on. He's sort of just, I think he's just been deprogrammed. I think T'Challa's little sister has kind of worked on him, and kind of got all that mind programming out of his head, because vibranium, it can do mental stuff too. It's like it can do so much. It is the world-saving metal. It can do everything. Yeah, it was nice to see Bucky up and about, and kind of it's just getting him ready for Avengers. It's really all it's doing. I was kind of hoping to see Cap. Like maybe Cap came back to, like, T'Challa, welcomes Cap back, and they surprise him by like Bucky's awake and here he is, and he's fully deprogrammed and stuff. But no Cap, just Bucky at the end there. It was a nice scene. It was a nice little scene there. Kind of gets you a little bit excited for Avengers. But yeah, I mean, one surprise I'd say, like I said, like no Soul Stone, no sign of. I think it's the Soul Stone. No sign of it at all. I mean, I was like, there is one more, right? There is one more, and we haven't seen it yet. And I'm guessing it's like gonna be unveiled in Avengers. So maybe it's like the Soul Stone is what gives vibranium like all this power. Maybe like, or maybe that's why Wakanda is so vibrant, because it has this this Soul Stone. So I don't know. I don't know what it is, but all I can say is I really liked Black Panther. I thought it was a really good movie, really good watch. A must see. Do go and see it. I think it's really good, especially if you're into Marvel films and stuff. Like, come on, like you don't need me to tell you to go watch it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. I don't think it beats like Guardians. I don't think it beats I really liked Thor Ragnarok. I think like it's along that range, right? It's like Thor Ragnarok, Black Panther. I think it's like in that range. I think it's like in that top section of Marvel films. Like right up there, like Spider-Man Homecoming and stuff like that. A really, really, really good first movie for Black Panther by himself. And being able to get it across without being an origin story. Thank you very much, Marvel. That was really good. But yeah. Alright, guys. That's it for us. Thank you very much for watching. And I'll catch you next time. Peace. Bye.